Welcome back. In this video, we are going to take care of our recipe screen. So now we know how to load data and store the data on our phone to a degree. Well, we're not really storing it. We just have it in the RAM. Okay, if the fetching worked. But now let's go ahead and take care of actually preparing the user interface. Okay, we will see how to display it on the user interface a little later as well. But now let's go ahead and create a file that will contain our composables, which means the user interface that we want to display. So I'm going to add a recipe screen as a new Kotlin file. And inside of this recipe screen, I'm going to take care of all of our user interface elements. So all of our composables. So the biggest being the entire screen, or like what we want to display on the main screen entirely, and then the individual components that will be inside of this recipe screen. So I'm going to call this one recipe screen, like so. And I'm going to have a modifier in there. So I'm going to say whatever the modifier that you pass to me, and here I need to make sure that I'm using the compose modifier. Whatever the modifier is that you pass to me, I want to use it. And by default, I'm just going to say that the default modifier should be used here. Now this recipe screen needs a content, and let me call this modifier. Let's stay correct here. Now, what do we want to have inside of our recipe screen? Well, we want to use our view model because our view model is going to allow us to get the data, all right? So let's set up the recipe view model object, which will be of type main view model. So main view model, and let's define this to just be a generic view model for now. So this here, we need to import view model for that. You see compose view model has been added for us. And then I want to have the view state as well. So view state by recipe view model dot category state. So inside, well, we need to import that as well. Let's import get value so that we can get the value of a state straight away, because that's what we do here. So now we have our category state, which allows us to get the recipe state so that we know which recipe categories we've loaded, for example. So in our recipe screen, the UI that I want to have inside of it is going to be a box. Okay, so this box, I need to import that like so. Import function box. It's under foundation layout. Okay, now I'm going to pass the modifier for it, which will fill the max size. So modifier dot fill max size. So that's pretty much it. So what should be inside of that box? Well, it really depends. So if we are loading, I want to display the loading screen, like loading icon, so to speak, the circular progress indicator. And when we're not loading, I actually want to display the categories. So let's go ahead and do the first thing. So I'm going to say when, I'm going to use a when clause here. When the view state is loading, so loading, then use the circular progress indicator. So there is this thing called circular progress indicator, and I'm going to center it. Modifier is going to be dot align towards the center. So I can pass alignment center in here. So what's happening here? Well, basically we're using this composable, which is the circular progress indicator, and we are using the modifier dot align to align it to the center. We've seen how to do it otherwise, where you would have said modifier is equal to modifier dot blah blah blah, like we've done it here, or how we've done it here. But this is just another way, and that's what we can pass directly to our circular progress indicator. We can just directly pass it in one short little code piece where we say the alignment should be towards the center. That's just a different way of writing it. And so you're aware, okay, there are other approaches, and that's really what happens in coding quite often. And then we could have the state, or the other situation, where view state dot error is not equal null. So what should happen when we actually have an error? That's something we can take care of here. We could display an extra text field, for example, a text like so. And let's import text for this to work. Like so, import the composable text. Error occurred. Okay, so something like this. And then finally, we have the other case, so the else case. That means we have loaded something. So either we're loading, we have an error, or we have no error, and we're not loading, and then we do have our categories. So I'm going to say display categories. So that will be the first part of our recipe screen. Okay. In the next video, we're going to set up how the category screen should look like, because we want to potentially have multiple screens. We want to have the category screen, and we want to move over to a specific recipe and so forth. And that would be it for this video. Let's keep going in the next one.